Today is Tuesday, June 4th. We'll tell you about President Biden's action that might mean the southern border will close immediately. Also, another dramatic hearing on Capitol Hill, this time involving Dr. Anthony Fauci. And a heat wave set to impact millions of Americans this week. Plus, there's new promising data about a melanoma vaccine, the latest policy for the platform X that allows X-rated content, and how gymnast Simone Biles broke yet another record. We'll catch you up on those stories and even more news to know today next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. President Biden is expected to take a drastic step for the U.S.-Mexico border today. As several news outlets are reporting, the president is set to announce a sweeping executive action. It will apparently allow the president to temporarily shut down the border if the number of illegal crossings reaches 2,500 a day. Well, the Homeland Security Department says these days there are more than 4,000 illegal crossings every day. In other words, a shutdown could go into effect immediately. And that would mean border officials would quickly turn back migrants who illegally cross the border without giving them a chance at asylum. Polls have consistently listed immigration as being a top issue for voters in the general election. But Biden's executive action is expected to face pushback as well. In fact, some reports say Biden's own advisors have warned the order will likely be struck down in court, especially since former President Trump tried a similar tactic in 2018 and got blocked by federal courts who ruled it violated asylum laws. And even if it did survive legal scrutiny, it could be tough to fully implement without a massive infusion of funding from Congress. Not to mention, other countries will have to be on board since they'd have to take back any migrants who get deported. No matter what, the U.S. says it will continue to allow asylum applicants to make appointments at official border points of entry. So stay tuned. The top infectious disease doctor who led the U.S. through the COVID-19 pandemic was in the hot seat for another especially heated hearing on Capitol Hill. Dr. Anthony Fauci testified in front of a House committee yesterday. Remember, Fauci served as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for nearly 40 years. So he worked under both Democratic and Republican White Houses. But now he's often the subject of partisan divisions. In what turned out to be a particularly chaotic moment, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene refused to call Fauci a doctor, saying, quote, "That man does not deserve to have a license." That sparked a big argument between her and other members, mostly Democrats, who argued she was going against the rules of decorum. Several audience members were also removed for heckling Fauci throughout the hearing. But he was also able to answer some questions. So, for example, Dr. Fauci pushed back against accusations that he tried to cover up or downplay a potential lab leak theory as an origin of the pandemic. Fauci also defended social distancing, masking, and other measures that the Trump administration supported in the early days of the pandemic, saying they were based on the science available at the time. At one point in the hearing, Dr. Fauci became emotional when answering questions about death threats and harassment that he's faced, saying he and his family are still dealing with it. Lawmakers have spent more than a year investigating America's response to the pandemic, but so far, Fauci has not been officially linked to any wrongdoing. The largest election in the world is finally coming to an end. Voters in India have been casting ballots for the last 6 weeks, and now 642 million votes are being counted. The official results aren't out just yet, but India's current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, is expected to win another 5 years in power, making him only the second person to lead the country for 3 straight terms. He's already claimed victory on social media and is hoping his party will win a supermajority in the lower house of parliament, too. Though some of his opponents have said the race isn't over yet. Either way, whoever wins will end up having a massive amount of power, not just in India, but across the region, given the country's booming economy and strategic position in Asia. By the way, more than 300 million of those who voted in the Indian election were women, marking the highest ever female election participation in the world. It's time for the last few states to vote in primary elections here in the U.S. Voters in Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota, and Washington, D.C. will head to the polls to cast their votes today. They'll be choosing their candidates for several statewide positions, including U.S. Senate and U.S. House races, which could tip the balance of power on Capitol Hill. In fact, the Republican primary in Montana to challenge Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester could be the most competitive contest to decide control of Congress in the fall. Some voters will also decide who they'd like as their governor. And of course, people will get the chance to weigh in on the presidential race, even though it's not much of a race anymore, with President Biden and former President Trump being the only two major candidates left. After this, there will be 2 more Democratic caucuses on Saturday in Guam and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And with that, the primary season will finally come to an end. A heat wave is moving into California today, and over the next few days, it's expected to bring record-high temperatures from Arizona to the Pacific Northwest. We're talking 20 degrees or more above average, the highest temperatures of the year so far in many places, and triple digits will be common. With that, excessive heat warnings are now in effect for more than 10 million people in California, Nevada, and Arizona. While the heat is at its peak, fire is also expected to be more likely, since there won't be a lot of humidity and there will be some breezy winds. Conditions are expected to ease at least a little bit this weekend, but above normal temperatures are expected in the western U.S. throughout the month. We have much more news for you still coming up, but first, this episode is sponsored by Honeylove. Ever since becoming a mom, comfort means even more to me. I need to be able to run around with my son, and frankly, mom or not, no one wants to be tugging at their clothes, constantly adjusting. And I also still want to feel like my stylish adult self. Honeylove has revolutionized everything from leggings and tanks to shapewear and bras. For example, I basically live in Honeylove's Legging 2.0. The fabric is super soft, stretchy, and breathable. The side pockets are super convenient, and the shaping panels give me the support and the look that I want. And whenever I need to wear a dress to a special event, the old shapewear that rides up is not going to be my first pick. Instead, Honeylove has changed the game. Honeylove is not just supporting women, it's empowering women. Treat yourself to the best bras, leggings, shapewear, and more, and save 20% at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/newsworthy to find your perfect fit. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. You deserve this. Free the pain and discomfort. Keep the support with Honeylove. Okay, now back to the news. Doctors say they're excited about the possibility of a new cancer vaccine. Moderna has been working on the shot that could help melanoma patients. In its most recent study, patients were given both Moderna's experimental vaccine along with Merck's approved treatment, Keytruda. All the volunteers had stage 3 or stage 4 melanoma and were treated after surgery that removed most of their tumors. Well, after about 3 years, nearly 75% of those who took both the vaccine and Keytruda were alive without any signs of symptoms of their cancer returning. That's compared to about 55% of the patients who got Keytruda alone without the vaccine. So researchers say they're confident the vaccine's effect is real and long-lasting. Next up, Moderna and Merck also plan to test the same combination in patients with other types of skin cancer, as well as in kidney, lung, and bladder cancer patients. The stock's influencer, known as Roaring Kitty, returned to Reddit this week. Keith Gill posted a screenshot of an E-Trade account showing he owns GameStop shares now valued at $140 million and a new set of options that expire later this month. Soon after, several other users were posting their own positions, and during the day, GameStop shares jumped by more than 70% before pulling back a little, still showing what power Gill has over meme stocks. Well, now the Wall Street Journal reports E-Trade is concerned and might tell Gill he can no longer use its platform. There are apparently fears he can pump up a stock for his own benefit. So the Journal says the company is now weighing whether his actions amount to manipulation and whether it's willing to risk angering his followers by removing him. For now, no decision has been made. For the second time in a year, Spotify is raising prices. The premium individual plan will start costing $1 more a month to $11.99. The duo plan will cost $2 more a month, and the family plan will cost $3 more a month. The audio streaming giant says these latest hikes will let the brand keep investing in innovating product features, bringing users the best experience. But with these hikes, Spotify's subscription plans are now pricier than those of rival Apple Music. Spotify subscribers will get a 1-month grace period before the new prices become effective. There's about to be a lot more not safe for work content on X. The social media platform, formerly known as Twitter, is now allowing users to post X-rated photos and videos, and that includes AI-generated pornography. But there are some rules. The company says all adult content needs to be properly labeled so users under 18 years old won't be able to click on it. Plus, any photos or videos need to be posted consensually and cannot depict minors. They also can't be shared to highly visible places like profile photos or banners. And technically, the platform has never banned adult content, but this is the first time it's been outright allowed with the rules clearly laid out. And TechCrunch says that could let X build services around adult content so it can compete with other platforms like OnlyFans. The number one tennis player in the world has once again claimed a record. Novak Djokovic won his 370th Grand Slam match at the French Open yesterday. And with that, he broke the tie he held with Roger Federer for most match wins at major tournaments. That said, his run at the French Open might end here. Djokovic has an injured knee and says he's not sure if he'll be healthy enough to play in the quarterfinals tomorrow. The French Open runs through this weekend. By the way, Djokovic isn't the only athlete breaking records this week. American gymnast Simone Biles won her 9th U.S. All-Around Championship. That makes her the first gymnast, man or woman, to win 9 all-around national titles. It also brings her total number of national titles to 32. Next up comes the Olympic trials, kicking off later this month in Minneapolis. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, a quick break to talk about our sponsor, Hiya Health. As busy parents, I know you do not want to have one more thing to keep track of, but you do want your kids to have everything they need to thrive, which is why I love Hiya's best-selling children's vitamins. They come straight to your door each month, so you don't have to think twice about it. But even more important than that, I chose Hiya because they have 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk and are instead a pediatrician-approved chewable vitamin that my little boy seriously looks forward to having every morning. I also love that you get this great convenient bottle with your first order, and then they just send you eco-friendly refills every month. So it's super easy and convenient. You even get stickers that your kids can decorate the bottle with. My kiddo really enjoyed putting his name on it. He actually got to do the vitamins bottle and the probiotics bottle since we're big fans of both. So we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. This deal is not available on the regular website. Go to Hiya Health, HIYAHEALTH.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, what was the first web browser on Apple's Mac computer? You can play along with us in our weekly roundup email that comes out each Friday. As for last week's trivia question, which country gives students the longest summer holiday? The answer is Italy. Italian children get about 14 weeks off for the summer. That started more than a century ago when farmers' children needed to be off for an extended period for the summer wheat harvest. And the tradition has stuck around. Summer breaks are actually pretty long here in the U.S. as well, typically anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. As for the shortest summer break, that goes to kids in South Korea, who get an average of just 4 weeks off from school. Supporters of that schedule say it pays off since when you look at international testing, South Korea consistently scores in the top 5 countries in both math and literacy. But it isn't all about days in school. Finland is another country that consistently scores well, and kids there get about 10 weeks off from school. All right, thank you so much for listening and making us part of your daily routine. We'll be back with another news roundup for you tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.